Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's the 20th of May, 2024. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined this morning by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day. And the news of the day, I guess we'll start out this morning, Matt, with our latest ranking that we are bringing to the website. This is ranking season for CaneSport.com. We're ranking the top offensive players. We're ranking the top defensive players and everything else in between. Well, this morning we are ranking the top 15 most impactful new players on the roster. And this one was kind of fun, Matt, because when you turn over a roster and you have 40 new guys on a football team going into fall camp, I'd say there's a lot of newcomers, and it's certainly worthy of ranking them. Let's start there before we get to the ranking. This is the third straight year of massive roster turnover here at Miami. It's been kind of stunning, really. And the thing that's very clear is how necessary it has been. And you feel bad for a lot of the kids who have had to leave and, you know, their family. For them, it all began with these great hopes of a career with the Miami Hurricanes, leading to a revival of the program and national championships. But Mario Cristobal wasn't hired by the power structure of Miami, which is essentially the ones that got this deal done in tandem with the university. He was not brought here by the power structure of the 305 to field an average football team that wins 5, 6, 7 games a year. He was brought here to get this program back to where it can win championships and compete on an annual basis for championships. And to do that, it's pretty obvious. All you got to do is look at the way the NFL drafts have gone. There has been an absolute absence of impact talent in this program. The only way to change that is to continue turning the roster until you get it right. And no, the ideal thing is not to replace 40 guys and have 40 roster spots where you're bringing in new players. But that is the reality of modern day Miami Hurricane football. Matt, and your thoughts on that? And do you agree with me in the sense that I think we're nearing the end of this type of massive turnover?
I stopped listening after you said, do you agree with me? I'm just going to say, no, I don't really know what you asked after that. But, you know, of our 15 newcomers that we ranked that can help the team, 9 of them are transfers, you know, and people still misunderstand my stance on the transfer portal. They think I'm against the transfer portal. They think I hate transfers. Nothing is farther from the truth. Nothing. What I'm against is last year taking 16 transfers and having only 4 of them make an impact. That's 13 roster spots that should have gone to freshmen or save them for the class of 2025. That's what I'm against, okay? I'm against taking just another guy. I'm against taking depth fillers in the transfer portal. My thing is build the roster through Mario Cristobal's strength, which is recruiting. And of course, if there's a hole in the roster, you have to fill it, but fill it with a free agent, not with an average guy who's pretty similar to what you already have on the roster. And as you look at this list this morning of the 15 guys that are the top newcomers, you know, I think this is the first year that Mario actually has done a decent job in the portal. I don't think he did a good job in the portal last 2 years. I think he did an awful job, as a matter of fact, in the portal the last 2 years. I think he was desperate for competition instead of, like, he didn't make a decision. Like, he didn't make a decision to either build the roster through his recruiting prowess or build the roster like FSU did through just paying a bunch of free agents. He tried to just build the roster through recruiting while just bringing in guys who can compete to maybe play as a second teamer, maybe compete to start. very few real free agents. There were some, don't get me wrong, there were some, but not enough. 16% free agents is not what I want. I want 100% free agents, or don't take them. Just rely on your recruits that you have to develop. I'd rather play true freshmen than bring in a junior or redshirt sophomore who's a second teamer. Like, call me crazy, So that's where I stand on the transfer portal, okay? Period. Like, I'm not against the transfer portal at all. I think it's crazy that that Clemson hasn't taken anybody in the transfer portal. That's ridiculous and dumb. You take advantage of what's available to you, of course. If you're in Wisconsin, are you going to have cheese curds or say, no, I'm used to just having mozzarella sticks? You're going to do the cheese curds. That's what's available there. And they're better than mozzarella sticks, all right? So Mario's got
you eat cheese curds when you go to Wisconsin.
Yeah, Dabo's not getting the cheese curds. Mario is. Just Mario's
cheese
cheese curds.
Cheese curds.
Yeah, just Mario's cheese.
When you go to Wisconsin, you eat cheese curds.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay, so what are now explain to me? I've never eaten a cheese curd, and I'm sure nobody watching the show has ever eaten a cheese curd.
Well, I'm sure you're incorrect about that, but what I was going to say was, like, Mario is just getting a lot of soggy cheese curds without good side sauce.
What's a cheese curd? Like, how do you eat a cheese curd?
So they have cheese is a big deal in Wisconsin for whatever reason. They have these wheels of, I don't know what kind of cheese it is, cheddar. I have no idea. But there's big wheels of cheese,
cheddar,
and they turn it into, they cut it into blocks. They do whatever's left after you cut up that entire thing of cheese. It's like the gefilte fish for our drive, right? It's like all the little extra stuff, the bones and the guts or whatever. The stuff that's left over on the bottom of the platter after they've taken the good stuff from the cheese, they take it into these little tiny, oval shapes, and they throw it into the deep fryer, and they're delicious. Delicious.
That's so it's fried cheese. Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's the gefilte fish of cheese. But it's delicious. Unlike the real gefilte fish, it actually is delicious.
All right, thank you for clarifying that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had to put it in terms you'd actually understand. So now, with that said, so like I said, I think this year he's done a much, much, much better job in the transfer portal with some caveats. I'm not a fan. I mean, I don't care anymore. I'm going to name guys. I could care less at this point, okay? Oh, he's so mean. He's so mean. I don't care. Marley Cook, they should not have taken him, okay? Zach Carpenter, you got to take that guy because they don't have a center, and he's actually decent, okay? Not great, but he's going to be good enough. CJ Clark, could go either way. Is he a free agent? No. Do they need defensive tackles? Yes. Like, is he the savior? Probably not. I don't know. I'm torn on whether I should take him. Savion Riley obviously was dumb to take him. Elijah Alston, honestly, like, he might get 5 or 6 sacks, but he's not going to start. Like, I know people love him. I wouldn't have taken him. Like, whatever. I would have used Cole McConaughey. I would have saved the scholarship spot for somebody else. Whatever. Reese Poffenbarger, I don't think that they are. I think in 2 years, people will be like, they probably didn't need to pay Reese all that money. They could have saved it for a top recruit. They really didn't need him. I would not have taken Reese.
To be the starting quarterback.
Say it again?
He was recruited to be the starting quarterback.
At the time?
They didn't have Cam Ward when they signed him.
Right. At the time, it looked like a correct decision. Right? But that's not my job. I'm not the head coach. I'm the guy who gets to say what the head coach should have done. They have Cam Ward. They're paying a guy who's never going to play a fortune in relative terms. Literally, they're paying him more money than he could have gotten to transfer somewhere else in the fall. That's why he didn't leave. They overpaid him. Like, that's not my fault. I'm just saying they shouldn't have taken him. In retrospect, they shouldn't have taken him. Mish Powell is a take. Obviously, Cam Ward is a take. Deani Hill, I wouldn't have taken. Damian Martinez, obviously, is a take. Sam Brown, I wouldn't have taken. Simeon Barrows a take for sure, and Jalen Alderman I wouldn't have taken. But even that 50% hit rate that I'm saying there is so much better than the 16% that we've seen. The first 2 years Mario's done this. Is it 2 years or 3 years? This is his third year taking portal, guys, right? So listen, I'm much happier with how he's done in the portal. Now, do I disagree with half his takes? Yes. Do I think fans will be like, you know what, I wish we had, 5, 10 more recruits to see if they would pan out or not? Maybe they would. Some fans are like, well, they couldn't have gotten anyone else good, so in recruiting, so who cares, Well, that's not true, okay? There's unlimited recruiting numbers the last 2 cycles, and Mario is an unbelievable recruiter. As people like to say, you can sell ice to an Eskimo. That's the stupid expression people use. He can literally sell ice to an Eskimo. He could sell a sauna to somebody living in Florida right now where it's 110 degrees in the shade. So yeah, he could have gotten other recruits, whether they were tweeners, whether they were projects. He could have gotten guys that probably could be developed into something that would be really good down the road. But instead, he took some transfers who were just another guy. That's what he does. That's what he's been doing. But he did it to a lesser degree this year. So I'm very happy with that. And I think next year, he will not need to rely on the portal nearly as heavily. Maybe a handful of guys is my prediction and my hope. And they all better be free agents, okay? I don't remember what the original topic of discussion was. Can I go have breakfast now? Like, what? You know, nobody wants to hear this stuff anyway. They all complain about me. Nobody needs to hear the rest of this. Let's just go. That's it.
Let me
have a great day, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in to Good Morning CaneSport. Well, that was a good show, Gary. I think we did okay. I mean, it wasn't so bad. You know, usually it's way worse than that. 30, 40 minutes of nonsense. Just 11 minutes now. It's perfect. We're done. Catch you later, bro. Peace out.
Let me rescue this a little bit here. All right. So I happen to agree. I happen to agree that when your majority of your transfer portal class is not impactful players, then you've made a mistake. I actually agree with you on that. And I also agree that they upped their game this cycle.
By the way, you've never agreed with that. What's changed your mind? Because it's always been, we need the depth guys. We need depth fillers. That's always been what you've said. What changed? I'm just curious because this is new. I've never heard you say this in my life.
You saying I'm flip-flopping a little bit? Let me think.
No, I'm just asking. It makes sense. What I'm saying makes sense.
I'm not a flopper. I don't flip-flop, okay?
I'm not saying you flip-flop. This is because the roster's better now that you don't need to take depth guys. I just want to know why you changed your mind. That's all.
They did need depth these last couple of years, but it's a fact that having that depth meant very little. They didn't win games because of it. You know, they won 5 and 7 games. So that's, you know, you could just throw that right out the window because the depth was not useful.
Right. So you're saying in hindsight, you're changing your opinion because all the guys they took were a waste of time, and you'd rather have those recruits
a lot of them
2 years ago.
And I'm going to tell you something else, Matt. Like, you know, I was shocked, okay, because I'm sitting here thinking last year, you know, you get Matt Lee, you get Javion Cohen. I thought those were free agents. Okay, I really did.
I still think they were, by the way. For college football, they were. You don't have to be a first-round NFL draft pick to be a free agent in college. They were free agents. They were.
But Matt Lee was barely drafted, and Javion Cohen didn't get drafted.
Doesn't matter. They're free agents.
No, I'm sorry.
You're wrong. I'm counting them as free agents last year, by the way. Among my whatever I said, 6 guys, that's 2 of them. You know,
yeah,
4. I said 4 guys, right? Listen, by the way, hold on one sec. For those of you who don't remember last year, because I can't remember yesterday. Okay, here's who they took last year. Okay, this is who they took that were scholarship guys: Thomas Gore, Devontae Brown, Javion Cohen is a free agent to me. Terry Roberts left just like Savion Riley. Francisco Mamagoa, free agent. Branson Dean was hurt almost all year and was average. Matt Lee is a free agent to me. Kim McCormick, no thank you. Tyler Harrell, no thank you. Luis Cristobal, no thank you. Now he's off scholarship, but he was on scholarship. Anthony Campbell, no thank you. Jaden Davis, free agent to me. Jadeus Richard, no. AJ Allen, no. KJ Cloyd lost his job. Jameel Burrows is already gone. That's 4. 4 out of 16. 25%. So just so fans understand, that's because people don't remember. That's who they took last year in the transfer portal. That's 12 scholarship spots that you could wave bye-bye to that weren't free agents in the portal. That's why I only want free agents. And again, I love the portal. Just get the guys that are going to be difference makers. That's all.
Yeah. Well, you know, I thought Matt Lee and Javion Cohen, for example, were free agents, and they weren't. I'm not calling them free agents. You can call them free agents if you want. I'm not calling them free agents because they started the entire year.
Matt Lee was one of the top-rated centers in the country.
But listen, if you're recruiting players, okay, you're supposed to be recruiting players that have the potential to develop into pros that are going to get drafted in the NFL. This program used to have 6 guys drafted in the first round. Okay, it's like that's what we're trying to get back to. Okay, so
I agree with that.
We're not recruiting players that are better than guys that can't even get drafted. Then I would agree with you. It's a mistake. And no, I guess I have a tougher grading scale than you in terms of labeling guys what you like to call free agents and not free agents.
I mean, if
you're not good enough to get drafted, you're not a free agent. Okay.
If you think Miami's going to just be able to take guys who get drafted by the NFL in the transfer portal, that's not my definition of free agent. Okay.
Matt, it better get to that point if this program is going to get back to competing for championships.
The NFL looks at this through a totally different lens than college football coaches. It's almost a different sport. Because NFL guys, you could suck in college. You could be a backup in college, but if you have the right height, weight, 40 time, jumping ability, and hips and athleticism, they're going to take you in the draft. And they're going to take you not in the last round or the 6th round. They're going to take you high up in the draft. Like, they don't care what your production was in college. They look at your body type and how it translates to the NFL. It's a whole different game.
My point is, I want guys that are going to get drafted. Okay. And I hope we're moving in that direction. I agree with you that it wasn't good enough the last couple of years. I'm not flip-flopping because I do like the transfer portal, but it matters who you choose out of the portal. It really does. And I do think they could have done a better job choosing who they chose out of the portal. And
literally, that's what I've been saying for 2 years. I've been saying this for 2 years.
No,
I mean, are we in like an alternate reality? Is this like one of those Star Trek episodes where like you went through the portal and you're the evil Gary Ferman and I'm the evil Matt Shodell?
Having those discussions, we did not know that Matt Lee was going to go in the 7th round. We did not know that Javion Cohen was not going to be drafted. We knew Javion Cohen was this guy we were getting from Alabama, this 300-pound guard that pretty much started for the Crimson Tide for a year, and now he's coming to Miami.
So if you knew Matt Lee wouldn't give up a sack all year, that Javion Cohen would give up 1 sack all year, but that they wouldn't be drafted, you'd be like, don't take those guys. Don't take those. Matt Lee's going to only allow 3 pressures. Javion Cohen's going to allow 6 pressures. I don't have it in front of me, but I would
say you could take him.
The Miami Hurricanes.
I would say you could take him, but you're going to win 7 games with taking players with having a team like that, because you need to upgrade. And you have multiple ways of doing it. And taking a guy that's drafted in the 7th round, while it's great and it filled a hole and we won 7 games last year, that's not getting us to the playoff. Okay. What's getting us to the playoff is having guys that are going to get drafted. And I'm not saying Carpenter's any better. I don't think Carpenter's any different than Matt Lee, quite frankly.
Well, I have the numbers in front of me. Matt Lee allowed no sacks, 3 quarterback hurries the entire year, and he played almost every single rep the entire year. Javion Cohen allowed 1 sack all year, 2 hits on the quarterback, and 10 quarterback hurries the entire year, starting every single game, playing almost every single rep. I mean, I don't know how you get much better than that when you're on the University of Miami offensive line, and they've been pretty bad, honestly, for the last 20 years. Like, I'm taking those guys all day long. I don't care if they're not drafted. Like, those numbers speak for themselves, and they were pretty good as run blockers too. Like, I don't understand your problem with these guys.
Competing with players that can't get drafted gets you to 7 wins, and that's a fact.
That's not true.
And until we get past that, we're not gonna win 11, 12 games. The playoff is now 12 teams, but you had an undefeated ACC team get left out last year.
Here's what you're not understanding. There's 6 guys that get drafted from a good team. 7 guys get drafted from a good team, right? You've got 24 starters. Like Matt Lee and Javion Cohen, they don't have to be one of those 6 or 7 for it to be a championship level team. Those are championship level players with those stats that I just read out.
Those kind of players around them. Okay, that's my point.
You have some guys that are NFL level. Of course.
If you're gonna go in the portal and get guys, like, I agree with you in this sense, that you want impactful players. And I think they've done a better job of that this year, but we won't know until we see the season play out. So let me get to this story that we're talking about here today, where we rank the top 15 most impactful new players on the team. And number 15 is Jordan Lyle. He might have been higher had it not been for landing Damian Martinez in the transfer portal. Okay. Damian Martinez is going to be the starter at running back. Jordan Lyle is going to, if everybody stays healthy, will be a few carry a game guy this year, if that. Okay. If they didn't get Damian Martinez, I'd be sitting here saying they might need Jordan Lyle to very quickly emerge as a starting level player the way Mark Fletcher did last year. So it just goes to show you, if you get the type of player that I'm talking about, and I think Damian Martinez will be drafted by the NFL next April, then it changes everything. Okay. It changes the whole perspective of, in this case, the offense. Number 14, Zaquan Patterson, another true freshman. Okay. I like the Savion Riley, not Savion Riley. I like the Mish Powell pickup. I mean, he's a guy that started for a team that played for the, in the playoff last year in Washington. Okay. Is he going to get drafted in April? I can't predict that yet, but I still like that pickup because he's a guy that started for a team that played at the upper levels. That changes the ball game for Zaquan Patterson because now Zaquan Patterson can, instead of being in a position where maybe you need him to be a starter this year, he can learn at a more reasonable pace and, get spot action this season. Number 13, Cole McConaughey, another example. If you end up landing Tyler Barron and you already got Elijah Alston, you don't have to rush a true freshman, Cole McConaughey, into playing significant reps this year where he's not physically going to be ready for that. He's a good-looking prospect, reminds us of Kevin Patrick, Rusty Medeiros, but he doesn't have to be that this year because of those pickups in the transfer portal. Now, but the question it remains along the lines of what I'm saying: does Alston get drafted next year? I don't know. I'm told Tyler Barron absolutely will be drafted next year. That he comes in immediately, upgrades the defensive line position, and that's still a fluid situation. We don't know yet how it's going to end. We've heard it was trending in the right direction all weekend, but it didn't get finished. So until it gets finished, we don't know. But Tyler Barron is a free agent who would be a draft pick most likely next April. I'm not sure about Alston, but what the point I'm making here is you're seeing like how these pickups alter the perspective. Jalen Alderman. Okay, Matt, you say you wouldn't take him. He's a linebacker. The question is, first, is he better than Wesley Bissainthe? We don't know that yet. Is he a guy that's capable of getting drafted? If he's not, my opinion would be that maybe we should have picked a different linebacker. But
here's the thing. You make it sound like it's so easy to get these guys. No top linebacker who wants to play a year and go to the NFL is coming into Miami's situation where you have two multi-year starters returning. I mean, yeah, they can compete and they can be told you're going to win the job, but that may or may not be the case. And you end up playing backup reps and where are you with the NFL, right? So the best they probably could do is a depth guy who can compete to start, like Jalen Alderman, who has a relationship with the coach.
They did better than that at running back. They did better than that at quarterback.
Of course, because do you not understand what I just said?
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
There's no quarterback competing to start. There's no running back competing to start. Those jobs are wide open. At linebacker, you have two multi-year returning starters. How do you convince and sales pitch a guy who other schools want because he's a top linebacker? The other schools are like, hey, our weak side linebacker graduated. We have no depth. You're coming in, you're starting, you're going to kill it. At Miami, it's, well, we got two returning multi-year starters, but you'll compete to start. Worst case scenario, you'll be a great depth guy. You'll play 300-400 reps, and we'll coach you up, and you'll be great. Like, I'm not going to Miami in that situation. I don't think anybody is. That's their sales pitch at linebacker. At quarterback, you can get a free agent. At running back, you can get a free agent. Mario gets hung up on these situations where he wants another guy, but you can't get a top guy, and he settles. And he did it at cornerback, where he should have been able to have a sales point that someone can come in and start, assuming Damari Brown and Darryl Porter Jr. weren't there. Maybe that's a problem with that. At safety, they really didn't chase a lot of guys, and they probably should have. I mean, Mish Powell is going to wind up at safety, in my opinion, because they couldn't get another safety, and they just don't have great safety play. But it's sort of, that's sort of the box that they're in, and you have to recognize, not that, hey, we can get whoever we want. It's, if you can't sell a free agent because of your current situation with returning players, don't just take a guy in the portal to take a guy and have a number. That's the problem Miami's been having. They try to take guys across the board that aren't going to be difference makers, and it's screwed them, quite honestly. And they've got to stop doing that.
That they took Alderman to be a backup. I mean, I got to think Alderman thinks he's going to start next to Francisco Magoa.
And then Bissainthe goes in the portal after the season. I mean, I don't understand. Like, I don't.
Well, that's
Alderman does not seem to me. Alderman watching him does not seem like a better player than Bissainthe is going to be. Like, if at best they're very similar. So, and they have Cam Pruitt. They have other guys who looked really good this spring. Raul Aguirre. Like, that's the other thing. Do you think Raul Aguirre is going to be happy sitting on the bench behind Jalen Alderman? Like, if I come back for another year, are they going to take another portal guy and I just won't play again? Maybe I should leave. That's the problem when you take a ton of portal guys, 15 portal guys on average every year, because now the guys you just recruited as freshmen and sophomores, by year 3, those guys aren't playing, they're leaving. That's just the truth of modern day college football. Whether you want them to stay or not, either you're paying them way more money than they should get as a backup, or they're leaving. And either of those situations are not good for a program that doesn't have infinite money, which Miami does not. Plenty of money, but not infinite. So at some point, you got to stop taking the damn just another guy depth guys that are screwing your freshmen and sophomores are going to wind up leaving. Like, if you can coach a position, they should be playing by year 2 or year 3. Period. Or you suck as a recruiter or a coach. It's one or the other. There's no reason for Mario to have taken guys in 2 cycles now, and in year 3, they have holes all over the place where they got to take 15 freaking transfer guys again. That's not good evaluations, coaching, or something. Something's not right.
There's not one guy that
left. That's why next year, there better not be 15 freaking portal guys again, or I'm going to be pissed. There should be 5 free agents for guys that just happen to leave, or just something got screwed up with numbers. That's it. It shouldn't be across the board like it's been for 3 years now.
Listen, I admit it's a little bit of a messy situation, because it's like, I really feel like, Cam Ward, Damian Martinez, those are the type of transfers I want to see Miami get. But at the same time, as we're sitting here processing all this, like, there was nobody that left that got replaced by, I think it was 15 guys that came in the portal this year. Was that the number? 15? Yeah. Every one of those 15 guys was better than whoever they were replacing. So
14 probably, going on 15, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, so it's kind of like, it's a tough situation for us to analyze, because, you can look at it different ways. But
that's, there's no beating.
I'm trying to endorse the Matt Shodell free agent.
No, there's no beating around the bush, Gary. If you're a good recruiter and you have a good coaching staff, and you've taken over and you're going into year 3 and year 4 and year 5, and you're taking transfer portal guys constantly to fill holes on your roster, it's a sign you're not a good recruiter and or not a good developer of talent. Like, there's no way around. You can say whatever you want. That's just facts. Like, there's no way around that. That is facts.
Well, what I said at the beginning of this conversation.
By the way, that has not happened at Miami. That would be the shot off the bow next year if they take 15 freaking transfer guys again. That's what I'm trying to say.
What I said at the beginning of the conversation was, I think this is I think we're getting near the end of this. I really do. I don't.
That's what I'm trying to say. We better be, because otherwise, that's what has happened. This better be it. This is year 3. This better be it, because he's had guys for 2 years now. By year 3, if you're a good evaluator and coach, those guys should be playing. Period. 100%. Next year will be the litmus test for this coaching staff, and you could tell just from how many portal guys they take. I'm telling you right now, if they take double digit portal guys next year, this coaching staff will never last long term. I'm telling you right now, it's just unsustainable.
All right, so a couple freshmen, JoJo Trader, we made 11. We made Cam Pruitt 10, a linebacker who flashed, who Matt is astutely pointing out is now going to be most likely not as significant as he might have been because of the addition of Alderman. For better or for worse. And Alderman maybe makes Miami a better team. She's supposed to. But Cam Pruitt had a very good spring. I mean, was looking like a guy that you wouldn't be afraid to put on the field. Is he going to be as polished as a guy that's played a couple years of college football? Probably not. But it's making the debate more interesting, because you do now have some quality guys that are not going to be happy this fall. There's going to be a lot of competition, which of course the coaches want, but there are going to be guys that are not happy. Sam Brown, our number 9, didn't come here to be a backup. He was Houston's top receiver last year with 815 yards. He came here to be the 3rd starter at receiver with Restrepo and Jacoby George. And, that affects Isaiah Horton. Hell yeah. Yeah, it affects JoJo Trader. Of course it does. But it better make the team better. Okay. And Sam Brown better be a guy that is a significant upgrade to what they otherwise would have been playing with, a guy that maybe the NFL wants to draft, or else it's all a colossal waste of time. There are many ways you can look at it, but I just, as I'm continuing to watch it, I like the pickups they made this year, but they need these guys to be more impactful, or else Sam Brown's not the right receiver. If he's not going to get drafted by the NFL, there had to be receivers in the transfer portal that are going to get drafted by the NFL. And I would say those are the guys you should be getting. Miami's as competitive as anybody in the NIL arena when it comes to the transfer portal. And, they should have identified those guys. Hopefully Sam Brown is that kind of dude. Elijah Alston, I don't know what the NFL thinks of him. We've got him as the number 8 most impactful player. We've got CJ Clark, the number 7. CJ Clark was the guy that pushed around Matt Lee a lot in that game when Miami played. I don't know. He doesn't have the measurables to be an NFL guy. But if you take it on the face value of he's a good enough defensive tackle to push around Matt Lee, and we just don't have those kind of dudes on our roster, then he's a solid take. But Matt, this contradicts everything we're saying again, because if he's not going to be drafted, what is the point? Why not just go to battle with the Josh Hortons of the world and see where that takes you? Clark's going to probably start in the fall.
I don't know why you keep putting words in my mouth. I never said, I literally spoke these words. I said, being a great college football player doesn't mean you get drafted high in the NFL. Okay. If CJ Clark doesn't get drafted, but he has a really, really good year at Miami, some college football players can be outstanding college football players and not NFL measurable. I literally have talked about this already, but regardless of all that, here's the biggest problem. When you look at Miami, Miami can't lose 2 games this year because their schedule is so easy that if they lose 2 games, they're going to be out of the top 12. I mean, they have nobody that's going to be an impressive win if they lose 2 games. Yeah. There are other, and this, I don't know if it's a problem or not, but, for fans to think, okay, now the roster's fixed or some magical genie has come down and blessed the Miami Hurricanes roster all of a sudden with immense talent. Not that any of these websites know anything, but if you just take off your orange and green glasses for a minute and you actually want to look at what, a national website says, like Pro Football Focus, right? If I remember correctly, they have, they did some top 10 lists at each position nationally. Here's the top 10 returning offensive tackles, interior offensive linemen, every position. And if you go down and add them up, the top programs out there, the Alabamas, the Ohio States, the Georgias, whatever, Michigan, they have, some of them have 8 or 9 guys out of their starters, right? Out of their 22, no special teams on here. It's out of their 22, right? On those top 10 lists, just in one program, 8 or 9 guys. Miami has 3 because I added up Miami's, okay? And I added up a couple other programs. And that's not, and by the way, Cam Ward's not even on there. So, maybe give him 4. We'll gift him a 4th because Cam Ward is 10th in, at least in some Heisman statistical things, whatever. But even though Miami has an easy schedule, even though they might only lose 1 game, when you're going against eventually a Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, whatever it may be, those programs right now have what Gary's talking about. They don't just have great college football players, but they also have great college football players who have those NFL measurables, which really is what you want. It's great to have great college football players because that's what you need. But there are also those great college football players who have the NFL measurables. And those honestly are the off the charts guys, because not only are they great college football players, but they have that strength, size, quickness, burst, speed, agility, all that other stuff. And it may sound like I'm negating what I said earlier, but I'm not, because not every player can have that on a roster. You still need your Javion Cohens and your Matt Lees, who are great college football players in my opinion, but not great NFL players, not great NFL prospects, I should say. Maybe they'll be okay in the NFL. Certainly not measurable wise NFL prospects.
Javion Cohen had NFL measurables.
Obviously he didn't. If he did, he would have been drafted higher.
He had the measurables. He just was deemed not good enough, but he was big enough.
No, there was something wrong with him. And I don't think it was his answers in the interview about how wonderful his life is, okay? I think it had to do with, I think what was it? I think, was he hurt? He didn't do some of the strength stuff. I can't remember now. I know James Williams was hurt. But anyway, I don't think his results were particularly good, Gary. His bench and all this other stuff. There was nothing that stood out that I remember on his numbers whatsoever. Like, I don't know why you're saying had the measurables. I don't think there was a single thing he had going for him that was like off the charts good for the NFL. But anyway, regardless, the point is Miami doesn't have, according to Pro Football Focus's top 10, whatever, a lot of top end returning talent. And Miami fans think they do. The three guys were Damian Martinez, was definitely one of them. I don't remember who the other two were. Ruben Bain was definitely one of them. I think Francisco Mamagoa might have been the third. I think it was those three, if I remember correctly. And that was it. So again, is Miami good enough to win 10 games this year? They better win 10 games against that schedule, or you're losing to a really bad team. Like, you lose 3 games this year, I don't know who the third team is you lose to. Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, Cal? I mean, it'll be pathetic with what Mario's tried to accomplish here. So they better win 10 games. They should win 10 games, even with an imperfect roster, even taking dumb transfer portal additions way too many times the last 2 cycles, and still a few too many this past cycle. And you know what? Honestly, Mario's lucky. Someone privately told me Al Golden's last year before the season that he was complaining to people before the season that his coaching tenure at Miami was up already. Before the season started, mind you, his last year. I don't remember who they were playing, but whatever happened on that schedule, he looked at it and he realized we have no chance. Like, people told me that. Like, he was telling people that he was done at Miami when he saw that schedule before the season even started. And Mario, looking at this schedule this year, I mean, he should be eating cheese curds in his mansion, because, like, there's no better schedule I've seen in terms of just winning games. Like, it's not going to be fun for fans. Okay, this is like the worst home schedule I've seen in my life for fans. But in terms of a coach that wants to win 10 games, like, dial up the Bethune-Cookmans, man, because, like, that's what's on the schedule this year. And there's no reason for them to lose, honestly. Maybe, and by the way, FSU has 0 on that list of returning top players. 0. Miami should beat FSU. I'm sorry, people. I don't care what they did last year. I don't care that some people have them ranked ahead of Miami in these way too early polls. FSU is not going to be good this year. You heard me say it, okay? FSU will not be good this year. They will lose 3 to 5 games. I don't care that FSU fans hate me and think that that's renegade. It's not. Okay? Right. That's just a freaking regular horse, not your stupid flaming spear horse, all right? Miami will win more games than FSU this year, and I don't bet, because obviously I know way too much. I'm way too smart to bet, but Miami will win more games than FSU. If that was a betting line, they should create that in Vegas, because I think a lot of Miami fans would take that, and they would get good odds on it too. I honestly believe that that'll be the case. And if Miami loses the game, it'll probably be to, like, Louisville, Florida. Could be tricky bad, not because Miami's worse than Florida. Miami's better than Florida, but because it's game 1. And you just don't know. And Florida sucks. Okay, they had a really bad year, but they've gotten some portal pieces. You don't know how much better they're going to be, and you don't know how Miami's team is going to come together with so many new pieces also from the portal and all this other stuff, depth-wise. So that, to me, is honestly a 50-50 game. I know fans are going to want to say, oh, yeah, Miami's going to beat Florida, of course. Florida only won 6 games last year. Miami won 7 games last year, okay? That is not a gimme.
I'm very interested to see where this ends, because
that is not a gimme. But Miami should beat Florida, might not, but at worst they lose. To me, at worst they lose to Florida and Louisville. I can't fathom them losing to Virginia Tech, regardless of them having a decent QB. Like, they have holes all over the place. Cal is supposed to be better. Like, come on. I mean, they had a losing record. Like, there's no reason Cal should be able to beat Miami. Whether they play on the moon, it doesn't matter. I don't care how long it takes for Miami to get to a game against Cal. Okay?
Well,
they should not lose that game.
This is going to put this whole debate to the test, because we're going to find out if you can win and make the playoff with good college football players that aren't necessarily going to be good enough to get drafted in the NFL. Because I don't think CJ Clark's going to get drafted. I don't think Marley Cook's going to get drafted. I don't know about Alderman or some of these other guys. Carpenter. I don't know if Matt Lee didn't get drafted. I don't know how Carpenter gets drafted. But the point I'm making is that they are taking guys in the portal that are not going to get drafted. And on face value, you wonder if that allows you to get to 10, 11, 12 wins. And we're going to find out this year, even with this schedule. All right. So you guys can continue going through the list when you look at the story on the website. Elijah Lofton, Carpenter, Mish Powell, Simeon Barrow, Damian Martinez, Cam Ward. We ranked the top 15 impact newcomers on this year's team. And that is on the website this morning. All right, let's move on. We're also in the middle of another ranking, our 50-1 countdown that we do every single year. Since we last came to you on Good Morning CaneSport, we did, I think, number 42, Jay Allen. We did number 43, Markel Bell, and number 44, Justin Scott. Today, we are at number 41, and that is tight end Riley Williams. So you could check that out on the website as well as we continue that countdown. And we also linked all the previous features on the earlier rankings. If you missed any of those, you can get caught up at any time right in that content item. You will see those links to our earlier breakdowns on those players. Okay, so some other things on the website this morning. The baseball team is now preparing for the ACC tournament. They had a weekend series with Pittsburgh.
Oh, wait, Miami has a baseball team?
Yeah, allegedly. You could check that out. We also have a little basketball news today. The Canes basketball team got a transfer portal visitor in Kyrie Huey from Idaho State. We spoke to him after his visit. You could check out the review. Don't be surprised if he's not a Miami Hurricane commit at some point later this week. We heard that visit went extremely well. All right, we have our usual assortment of recruiting stories that are on the website. We spoke to the coach of recent commit TK Muex, and he fills us in on what he brings to the table for the Canes. This is a big guy that's being compared to Inez Cooper as an offensive lineman. So check out what his coach has to say about TK. Alex Mirabal, continuing to build that offensive line, visited Milton, Georgia, Cambridge, 3-star 2025 guard Gabe Smith this week. He has set a Miami official visit. The Canes are in his top 2. You can get caught up on what he's saying about Miami. We have a story on Palm Beach Central 4-star receiver Waden Charles. He's a Miami commitment. He's adamant about his commitment to the Canes, but there are some summer visits approaching here this summer. We bring you up to speed on Waden Charles. There's also an update you don't want to miss with Douglasville, Georgia, on 300 quarterback DJ Bordeaux. He is emerging as one of Miami's priority targets in next year's class. Got to keep recruiting those quarterbacks, man. You can never have enough of them. The way they come and go in the transfer portal. Speaking of quarterbacks, we've got a story on a 2027 QB. Yeah, believe it or not, 2027 from Park Ridge, Illinois, Maine South High School. His name is Jamison Purcell. His recruitment is starting to get off the ground now, and Miami has ensured itself a place at the table. You can read that update on Jamison Purcell. In Orlando, Lake Highland Prep High 3-star offensive tackle Jaden Wilkerson. He could be making a commitment somewhere sooner than later. The Canes are one of his top contenders. So the recruiting goes on, Matt, and you've been observing it. What are your thoughts on the way Miami's recruiting is going so far this cycle?
It's always under Mario. It's always hyper focus, hyper. Oh, look at this! Gary's on mute. He had the cough. Wow. He's got so excited. So anyway, Mario does recruiting the right way. He's the best head coach recruiter I've seen at Miami. Not maybe the best evaluator, that would be Butch Davis, but the best recruiter in terms of how hard he works, how he bonds with the student athlete. Well, I guess just athlete now, right? There's no more student. They just make money. They're athletes. And their families. There's nobody that does like Mario. And his staff, he hires a staff that works just as hard at it as he does. So yeah, they should get another top 5 class, top 10 class at the worst. And that's why I continually say, just build the program through recruiting. Like the worst thing that ever happened to Mario was NIL in the transfer portal. I know it's great for the student athletes, and I get it. Okay, But it's the worst thing that happened to Mario, because if it's an even playing field, whatever program Mario is coaching, he will get top recruits and they will be stuck with him for 3 to 5 years. And he knows what he's doing. His coaching staff knows what they're doing. And they will develop those players into really, really good players. And you've seen that. He keeps talking about the blueprint at his prior stops. Well, the blueprint's changed, Mario. It's now a gray print, okay? Because everything's just a gray area. It's no longer, I remember back in the day, right? Like, I remember Curtis Johnson was CJ back in those days. He was just so tough on Kellen Winslow Jr., who obviously has his own problems. But like screaming at him, making him run the sand pits, do the crawls all across the field. That's right. Like merciless, And I remember him saying to me that the way it was, this was the way it was then, was you kiss their ass, the recruits. You love them to death. They're the greatest thing ever. You tell them how amazing they are. You build them up. Oh, you come in here, you're going to be a star. We'll get you out of a first rounder. Every recruit you want, right? That's what you say to them constantly. The second they sign, back in those days, you own them because they can't go anywhere. If they wanted to transfer, they have to sit out a year, okay? And A, the student athlete doesn't want to do that. And B, other programs don't want to take up scholarship spots with a lot of their roster for guys that have to sit out and can't play. So the second they sign, you own them. And what CJ said was they had to be especially merciless to the 5 stars and the high 4 stars and these guys who think they're so great coming in, because those guys just think they don't have to work for it. And you have to literally break them down almost psychologically, like it's, Guantanamo Bay or something, to get them to back to ground zero, to the base floor that you build them up from. How do you do that nowadays? It can't be done. It can't be done. The players are making more money than a position coach is sometimes. How can a position coach say to a player making more than him, like, you suck, I've never seen. I could get a punter off US 1 better than you. A homeless guy off US 1 is a better punter than you. That's what Don Solinger said. He would have been ostracized now and fired for saying that, but he said it. You can't say that now. You can't tell a player he sucks. You can't tell a player leave practice. I don't want to see your ass anymore, which they did, by the way, to some players back in the day. They didn't like their attitude. They said goodbye. Kick them off the practice field. Don't come back here. And then eventually they'd invite him back. You can't do that anymore. Players get pissed and they leave, So yeah, the worst thing that happened to Mario was that you can't do that anymore, because he was the master of recruiting, getting top talent, breaking them down and building them up, man. And that was his blueprint. And that was his culture. And when Mario talks about culture now, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. How you do anything is how you do everything. Like, did he read some book and was that one of the Narnia trilogy things? Was that in there? Like, I don't even know what that means. Okay. I don't know how you enact that. And I also
it means you got to be consistent with your effort and everything.
I know what it means. I know what it means. But the whole point is, how do you enact it? You can say it. Your players can repeat it. But no, because how you do anything, how you do everything just means everyone's leaving a program. Should I leave? Should I stay? Are you giving me enough NIL money? Like, that's how you do anything now in college football. Anything now is NIL and the transfer portal. That's anything and everything in college football right now. And I told you, Gary, and I still predict this, that unless there's some sort of litigation, or I shouldn't say litigation, unless there's some sort of congressional intervention or something, within 5 to 10 years, every agent is going to start doing his homework and actually want to work for a living, and will tell their clients, go in the transfer portal if they're any good. Because, yeah, they can get some backhand offers from a school or two that don't mind cheating, right? But unless you're in the portal, you don't know nationwide what your value is. Can you imagine an NFL player who had a great year? And I'm only talking about the really good players, by the way. The bad players aren't going to go in the portal. The good players will all go in the portal. They all should go in the portal. Can you imagine the NFL? You have a great year. Your contract's up, and you only negotiate with the team you just played for instead of testing the free market? Because right now, any great player who doesn't go into the portal is just negotiating with the team he just played for. Who does that? Nobody. And, I'm not privy. I know I talked to agents about NIL deals. They won't give me specifics, but I know some of them are trying to work in if you leave, you have to pay back some of the money we gave you. I don't even know if that's legal. Okay. Like you can write whatever you want into a contract. Doesn't make it legal, like good luck getting money back after a kid leaves your program, right? I don't know that you can sign multi-year contracts with players that they can't break and you're stuck there for 4 to 5 years. I haven't seen a contract like that yet in college football. So notwithstanding those kinds of things, every player who is good in college football will be in the portal within 5 to 10 years. That's when they'll all have figured this out by, because they all should have done it already. It makes total sense. And it's going to be total bedlam. Total bedlam. Can you imagine every great player on every team being a free agent at once in a 1 or 2 month window, and you got to try to sign them all at all these different colleges?
It's already total bedlam.
And the money's going to be even bigger now, because the states are starting to pass laws that the schools can directly intervene and pay players, essentially, right? Virginia already passed that for their public and private universities. So can you imagine this? It's going to be an all-out bidding war between the collectives, the schools themselves. God knows what. I mean, God knows what
revenue sharing. There's going to be revenue sharing, which is going to guarantee all 85 scholarship players getting paid.
Right.
There's not going to be any more walk-ons. There won't be any more walk-ons. And then the best players will still get NIL deals. How about that?
The best players will be trying to transfer, or not trying to, but
they will still get NIL deals.
Taking bids nationwide every single cycle. It's who wants to be a fan of a situation like I don't want to root for a college football program, a college football situation like that. That's just that's like going to 10 different restaurants to try their cheese curds and you wind up in the bathroom for the next 3 weeks. Like I don't want to be in the bathroom for 3 weeks. It's not fun.
All right. Well, I think we've done enough this morning to confuse everybody because it is confusing. You really honestly, you don't know what you're supposed to think anymore because it's so crazy and so convoluted. And we're sitting here talking about a football team that we're expecting to win 11, 12 games while we're saying it's okay to take guys in the transfer portal that might just be good college football players that aren't going to get drafted. And I don't know how the hell that's supposed to add up to 11, 12 victories, but we're going to find out this year because we're going to see how many games the Canes win. And then we're going to see what the NFL status is of those players after this season. And then we are going to revisit this in about 8-9 months and be able to see what the conclusion of the season was. Because on face value, I really believe that, and I've been a supporter of the transfer portal. I don't want to make it sound like I'm flip-flopping. I love the transfer portal, and I love the fact that they've used the transfer portal to make the program better. But the fact of the matter is it has not gotten us the results we wanted. Okay, winning 5 and 7 games has negated most of that transfer portal work to me. And I'm not changing my opinion. I still love the portal, but I do think it needs to be used better. I think it has been used better in this cycle, but I want to see it on the football field this fall. So that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport. Thank you so much for putting up with us today. We know we were a little all over the place, but at least I hope we gave you some things to think about and discuss amongst yourselves on the message boards at CaneSport.com. By the way, if you're not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, please head on over to our website, become a member. Your subscriptions allow us to do what we do every day. Even if on a day like this, it means starting out our morning confusing the living hell out of you about the transfer portal and all the ins and outs of putting it together because it is a little bit crazy. Also, if you're on YouTube right now and you like the show, you like this channel, hit your subscribe and like buttons. It does help us with the algorithms at YouTube in growing our audience. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you once again for joining us this morning, and we will see you next time, everybody.